Hello, everyone. This is Liz, Derry Public Library's resident movie nut, indefinite expert on cult and out of the way films, and I'm here back at my house for Tuesday, aka What's on Netflix Day. And before I go any further, I have just got to say, everyone, break out your flower crowns and call the Wendigo because Hannibal is on Netflix. Yes, that is my first recommendation for today. Brian Fuller's dearly departed, but thankfully got to end on its own terms adaptation of the Thomas Harris books is now on Netflix. It was exclusively on Prime until very recently, and apparently still is on Prime. I'm very happy that there's some cross platform streaming, but I am a huge supporter of that show. I was so happy when I heard it was coming to Netflix, meaning, hey, it will reach more people. If you're not familiar with it, by the title Hannibal, you might be able to gather who and what it's about. It is a very different take um, than Jonathan Demme's take on Silence of the Lambs and the Hannibal character. However, I love the way that Mads plays Hannibal because this is Hannibal in the wild, so to speak. He hasn't been caught yet. Nobody really knows what he does. And it is interesting to watch this series and then go watch Silence of the Lambs because you kind of see Mads does not imitate Anthony Hopkins, but he has enough subtleties in his performance where you kind of see how that character became the Anthony Hopkins. It is a great show. It is gory. This was TVMA when it was on NBC. It is not for everyone. Luckily, that is a show where if you're giving it a shot, you will figure that out very quickly. But I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite shows of the past 20 years. And I just love that whenever a show, especially a network television show on NBC, goes all out in being like art directed within an inch of its life. I love it so much. It has an ending you won't forget. The finale of season 2 is one you won't forget. I still remember seeing that one live and wondering, the heck are we gonna go from here? But it's great. Also, good performance by Lauren Fishburne, Catherine Isabel, Henriette Park. Again, can't say enough good things about this show, but I do understand if you are apprehensive to watch it. But I figure I should let everyone know. Now, on to some slightly lighter picks. We're going to talk about Zodiac. Wait. I'm kidding. Zodiac is now on Netflix, and this is David Fincher's sort of based on a true story take on the hunt for the Zodiac killer in the 70s. I believe it's the only period piece David Fincher has ever done. And some actually consider this, even more so than something like Seven, to be his best picture. I disagree. I go to bat for Gone Girl. I love that book and I love that movie. But I think this is his most underrated movie. Great performance by Robert Downey Jr. This was just a year before he had Iron Man. So, not to rag on Robert Downey for following the money because, I mean, who can blame him? But it is interesting to see Robert Downey Jr. play someone besides Tony Stark. Jake Gyllenhaal was right when he was transitioning. It's pretty soon after Brokeback Mountain. This was when he was transitioning from kind of teen heartthrob into serious actor. Again, I think this is a great movie if you've never seen it. If you're a true crime buff, this should definitely be on your list. And overall, I think in terms of a set and costume design, great 70s look. And it doesn't look too gaudy 70s. It looks close to photographs I've seen of my parents. Oh, someone just asked me a question if Zodiac is gory. Not too much. There is one scene where you actually do see the Zodiac killer kill someone. It is not I would consider gory, but it is definitely an intense scene. But still, I would actually say it's not as gory as Gone Girl. I think Gone Girl is still gorier of the two later Fincher movies. So on to some timely films to watch. Spike Lee's biopic epic Malcolm X is on Netflix, and that stars Denzel Washington as the civil rights leader. And this is a long movie. It's almost 4 hours long, and this goes through his entire life. And it's a great movie. There's actually a great sort of callback to Spartacus in it. And again, I think a lot of people are looking for films and books and TV right now to watch to kind of get some understanding and some background for all the protests that are happening and the calls for justice. So I would say watch Malcolm X. And I mean, the very least, great directing job by Spike Lee, amazing performance by Denzel Washington. I'm kind of shocked he didn't win the Oscar for that last year, or not last year, the year it was out. I guess someone was driving someone around in a car. I don't know. But I would definitely recommend watching it. You definitely have to set aside some time, but it is worth it. In a similar vein, there's a documentary on Netflix called LA 92, and this is about the 92 LA riots. Um, and it's interesting that we call it the LA riots because everyone still kind of knows why that happened. Person who inflicted police brutality on camera got off scot free. And it's in retrospect now when we talk about it, we almost talk about like, I kind, justified. I kind of get it. But again, as something I've been saying when I've been recommending a lot of movies and books in the past week, this is not a new problem. And this is why a lot of people are angry and feel kind of like there's nothing else to do. So, again, for some background history and an unfortunate lesson of how history can repeat itself, I would recommend LA 92. So now we are going to get into some lighter stuff. The great film Lady Bird is now on Netflix. It is off Amazon Prime. This is Saoirse Ronan. I still don't think I say her name right. As a teen girl, kind of coming of age, trying to figure herself out as a person, assert herself politically. She wants to go to college. She wants to get out of her, what she considers her small town. This is the directorial debut of Greta Gerwig, who did last year's wonderful Little Women. Great performance here, by the way, from Laurie Metcalf. Most people know her as Aunt Jackie from Roseanne, and she is wonderful here as a mother who obviously loves her daughter, but just has no idea how to relate to her. And as someone who was Lady Bird's age in 2003 when this movie takes place, this hits me right in the feels, and I think there's a reason this hit a lot of people right in the feels who are my age. Again, wonderful movie, great directorial debut, and between this, her writing in Frances Ha, and obviously last year's Little Women, I'm very excited to see what Greta Gerwig does next. Up next, we're going to go a little classic. West Side Story is on Netflix, and what else can I say about this? And that it's again, there's a reason this is a part of American film canon. It is one of the few musicals to ever win an Oscar. Although, I don't know, when you look back, musicals were a lot more common back in the 60s and 70s, but it is definitely not a hokey stage style musical. It takes place around the city, and so it does set it apart from other musicals that were in theaters at the time. Again, since we've had like 50 plus years since this movie, it seems almost like, seen it, but you have to remember when this film came out, a lot of what they were doing was new, even to the point of casting actual like Puerto Rican people as the Puerto Rican characters. Unfortunately, not the case Natalie Wood, but Rita Moreno, who won an Oscar for her role in this, is it's groundbreaking in some ways, and in some ways it is also still dated, but the music is wonderful, the acting is wonderful. American Treasure, Rita Moreno, I already mentioned it. So yeah, if you need like some film history, West Side Story. Up next is a movie that I don't think got a fair shake at the box office and critically, and I actually think it's one of the best satires to come out in recent years, and that is Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. So I'm sure we've all seen musical biopics, Coal Miner's Daughter, Walk the Line, blanking on a third one. Wow. I'm like Liz Lemon. I name two things, and then my third one is I always think of a third thing when I'm listing them. But this basically kind of takes all of the tropes of those stories and goes through it in a satirical way. John C. Reilly is the lead, Dewey Cox, and John C. Reilly, speaking of American treasures, John C. Reilly is an American treasure. If you have never seen this, I would. It's one of the few lead roles we have for John C. Reilly. He's usually in supporting. But I think this movie's great, and I'm very glad that it's found an audience in home video and on streaming. So our last two recommendations. Speaking of things that are going to make us smile and make us happy, there is a little kind of documentary called Betty White, the First Lady of Television. So if you're my age, you probably know Betty White from multiple reruns of The Golden Girls and fell in love with her as Rose Nyland. But a lot of people forget she has been on television for years and years and years. She's been on variety shows. She was on Mary Tyler Moore. She has an incredibly storied career. And even as she's older and, she's 98 and still on TV, she still doesn't fall into the trap of just being the funny old lady. There is a genuine respect by all people when they talk about her for just how long this woman has been in the business and just how professional she is. And just how good humored she is as well. I think a lot of us would love to be Betty White when we get to be that age. So if you want something to make you smile, that is perfect. And final recommendation of the day is a movie that the whole world fell in love with back in the summer of '82. And I should not like it because it kind of pummeled one of my favorite movies of all time, which is The Thing. But I still love E.T., the extraterrestrial. What can I say? It's a wonderful movie. It's heartwarming. E.T. is ugly as heck, and if you look at him, you're like, man, he's put together scotch tape and prayers. But it is still a heartwarming, wonderful movie, and it's a great kids movie. If I can borrow from writer Scott Weinberg when he talked about this, he said it's a kids movie that's not afraid to be sad. It's not afraid to have kids or the main characters be in a bit of danger. It's a movie for children, but it's also for everybody. And there is a real genuine sense of wonder to it. And I'm still happy to this day there's no sequel to this. Again, there's some other Steven Spielberg properties that should have been one and one, Jurassic Park, but E.T. is beloved and one of a kind. And if you've never seen it, you should. Um, so this is Liz signing off. I will see you tomorrow with some in-library recommendations that you can get and put on hold. So I'll see you then and have a wonderful day.